Good morning, Rabbi Isaiah. Today happens to be the yard side of Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky, and since I use his stuff so often, I want to start off just with a beautiful piece that has to do with what I said a few days ago, but it's a little bit different. The Saba Mikhelem says, it says, Toiv le'lo adam davar v'tzar mimeya berevach. It's obvious the Rebbe Nosson. One mitzvah, one piece of Torah, b'tzar, when it's difficult, is worth more than 100 berevach. So he has a whole piece here. You know what? We won't go into it. He says that if a person is, let's say you get 100 points for learning a Daf Gemara. If you're tired, you get 200. If you're even more tired or sick, you get 1,000. And he keeps on going on with this cheshbon, how learning Torah when you are in pain, betzar, is 100 times more than shaloi betzar. And the Chavetz Chaim had a koilel kachim in Radin. And he had the guys, he said, let's learn kachim b'shitchias, let's learn b'pkias first, so we get the idea of the musagim, and that's what we discuss a lot about Daf Yomi, just to get the ideas of Shas. And then let's go deeper into it. So there was a guy in the koil who started out learning, and he comes to the Chavetz Chaim, he says, Chavetz Chaim, I can't do this. I only did 1 daf so far, and this guy over there did 5 daf. So the Chavetz Chaim says, what, you did 101 daf? Daf Kuf Beis? So the guy thought that the Chavetz Chaim is older and he doesn't hear. He says, no, I only did one daf. He says, why? He says, because I have a difficult time learning. I'm not as smart as that guy. He says, the Chavetz Chaim says, oh, you learned 101 daf, because 1 bitzar is like 100 times more than shaloi bitzar. So you learned a daf, you learned 101 daf versus that guy's 5 daf. So it's a side for all of anything that we do with Daf Yomi, especially when it's difficult to get up in the morning. It's that much greater, the sechar. A lot of pictures today. Oh, shvaya. Wow. Yosef Korn, on our way from Charlotte to Houston during Yeshiva week, I made sure to keep up with the daf. There's no vacation from the daf. Even when on vacation, keep on dafing. Here's Reb Yosef. We have here, yesterday, I mentioned whatever happened to the guy that won the Shas. You mentioned the shit, you don't know what happened? See attached picture of my Shas delivered to my house, and after being put into the designated Svarim Shafa from guess where, if not from IKEA, it looks like it was designed specifically for this Shas. It fits perfectly. Special thanks to Shlomi Rosenberg for calling me and taking care of making it happen. But kids, we pay up, Rabbi, so we pay up. I'm somewhat disappointed that I didn't get a call from you. Like you mentioned, if you want to call me, I'll gladly take your call. Nachum Taub, here is a Shas in IKEA Svarim Shafa. Nachi Gordon. Just yesterday, somebody came over to me and says, on Meaningful People with Nachi Gordon, I was cringing the entire time. You tried to convince him to learn the daf. I was cringing. But now that he's doing the daf, I said over yesterday, no, you weren't here. I said over yesterday when we went to Braham's thing. He told me, don't waste your time with these guys. And the next day, 3 guys showed up. Same idea. I was sitting there we're live. I mean, it was going to be broadcast later. And I'm sitting there, no, please do the daf. Please do the daf. No, I don't have time. Please. Elamaisa, he's doing it. And you know what else? And then the guy that told me, Yaakov Lang, who said, Yaakov Langer. He said, I already do Kinyan Masechta. So I said, no, so add a little bit more. And he's now doing, I don't know, he did this whole thing about top shiurim, so obviously he's doing daf now also. So it works out at the end. Skinny Simchas Beis Siyum Amegillah. Picture it as Mati Newman. Yesterday I said something about skinny Simchas Beis. So he's telling me that's it's a legit thing. Picture is Mati Newman. Siyum hosted by Nisan Gordon. First Siyum in over a decade. Here he is. My son-in-law's name is Jake Lebovitz. My 2 son-in-laws do the daf, Daniel Epstein. And then he says, he nudged me until I started doing the daf. He make it exciting. As I know, you're a dog lover. Nah, not really. Please find photos of my dog and Jake's dog doing the daf. Only in Lakewood. Even our dogs are holy. Yaakov Lach with a holy dog doing Daf Yomi. So now you know that all the other pictures they send in are real. Menachem Esther, Jonathan. Wow. Okay. You sat Shavir, please tell me you didn't really. Not really. Oh, not really. Okay, good. Whew. Close call there. You know I would have come had you been here. Please see picture below. Hey Tzaddik, rain or shine, Daf never stops. Male stewardess comes over to me while I was learning the Daf. Steward. He says stewardess. He said that says okay. Flight attendant. Came over to me. Okay, male steward, flight attendant came over to me while I was learning the Daf and told me. You see, became yeshiva. She's learning the Daf. Kitzer's whole English. I was learning the Daf and told me after he gave out sodas to my kid that we were the only ones on the entire plane. We were on the last row to say please and thank you. I pointed to the Gemara and said, it's all from the Torah. Torah teaches us everything. Thank you for giving us a commitment for making every daf so sweet. John Shitrit. So I have a message for John. I wanted to tell him that I don't think that, it's a beautiful thing. It's a Kiddush Hashem. I believe, I don't know, I might be wrong. The greater Kiddush Hashem is that he's learning on the plane in front of his children and his wife. She's proud of him. She's taking a picture. That's a Kiddush Hashem. Flight attendant, thank you. No, it's a Kiddush Hashem, 100%. Not as great, in my opinion. Rabbi side, this is the picture of the day, for me at least. This my son Akiva Simcha took on a ski trip. And this also shows MDY. Here's a chassid that never knew this Sephardi guy from Los Angeles, Shlomo Lazarian. Yossi Klein, Shlomo Lazarian, doing the daf on a ski trip together with my son Akiva. So a tremendous yishkoach to both of them for taking him. And they rented a gorgeous house over there and they were doing the daf. And my son thought it was interesting to take the picture and show. He sent me a video, picture, the whole zach. So beautiful. All right. Oh, we have sponsors today. I know I'm late because Levi's already here. Wow. This month's co-sponsor is anonymous. Lurfus Yedidiנו Shalom, Borch Yehуда ben Malko Freidah. Masechus Moed Katan is dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families. I feel bad. The whole day I felt bad that I didn't bring Mr. Kessler up here. He was here. I know him so well from New York. I see him all the time. I was like, okay, he's not a real guest, but he should have been right over here. He's dedicating this whole thing. Chaval, I feel bad. He's gone already. It's dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families. Refuah Shlema from Miriam Esther, Devora, bekorov. Michael and Jayme Benmeleh, in memory of Devora, Faige, Shmuel, Shoshana Esther, Menachem Mendel, Elchanan, neshamas have an Aliyah, and may Hashem bring Mashiach bekorov. Time and Nechama Eisenman in this chus of a successful surgery and Refuah Shlema for Shoshana Esther, bas Masha Necha shetichya. Who's that? What was everybody saying? Yeah, you know? That's all the guys from Hatzal Shemesh. Yagudaev Family, Nishmat, Mazal, Bat Chizkiyahu, Anu Shloishim. L'schos, Rabbi Bernard David from Manchester, Doivber Ben Gundel. He's having a small procedure done today, and it's his birthday, with love from your family. Is that you, Levi? You have anything to do with it? Wow, Yishkoyach. Are we allowed to say how old he is? Rabbi Bernard David is the first person who made a remote chabura outside of MDY. He found the shir 4 years ago almost, and he started getting guys together in Manchester. So he's the first guy. Should I have Refuah Shlema? Jacob Zaret, for my father Moshe Zaret, who got me to start watching every day since Rosh Hashanah. Shkoyach. Rav Yehuda Zev Segel ben Rav Moshe Yitzchok Halevi Zeichet Tzadik V'Choshev Racha, the Manchester Rosh Hashiva, founder of Shmiras Haloshin Jayme. Ooh, do I need some of that? Okay, I just spoke Lashon Hara by myself, which is also awesome. I have a riddle for the Olam, which we're going to see the answer. What? I said no. It's coming up, Mamash, in a few lines, but so don't peek in. What melacha or sting is aser on Chalamayid but mutter on Shabbos Kodesh? Chalamayid is more chomer than a Shabbos. And again, it goes back to this whole idea. Huh? Yeah, twice. I know, but you're not paying attention the other time. No, I missed you. The guys that are watching, they want to know what just happened. No, I'm just asking me, did you say your mom? Do you have like headpiece? What are you're wearing a thing in your ear? Turn around, let me see your ear. No, Gary. That's the problem here. What are you listening to? Shirley Bernstein. Listening to Shirley Bernstein during the shir. And then he asked me good kashas. Well, what's pshat? Stealing from Shirley. Givaldik. I thought it was from the art scroll, whatever you use over there. Oh, Shmuel. Oh, Shmuel. Mikable ki boiles b'toich hatchum osur. So you make a contract with somebody. Let's say you want him to build a house, whatever it is. If it's outside of the tchum, so tchum we know, but if you don't know, tchum is that from the city limit, you have 2,000 amma, that's all you're permitted to walk and go. If you put a su'uda after 2,000 amma, so then you extend it, that becomes your home, you extend it by 2,000 amma, your actual home becomes usher to walk in the opposite direction because now your new home is shifted from here to here and you have 2,000 amma. The point is you can't walk, and if you can't walk, you're not going to see what the non-Jew is doing. Nobody's going to get there. It's not going to be a chil Hashem. Nobody's going to think that you hired the guy on Shabbos. But if people could get to it because it's within the tchum, you're not allowed to do it. It's because there's no other city, no other Jews could get there. If there's another city, other people are going to say that you hired him on Shabbos. Question, are you allowed to give your dry cleaners on Chalamayid to a dry cleaner? Anybody? I'm waiting. Hill says machlokes, not a machlokes. You allowed to give your dry cleaners on Chalamayid to the non-Jew? Absolutely not. Asur. Are you allowed to give your dry cleaners to a non-Jew Erev Shabbos? He might work on it on Shabbos? Yes. Okay. Just the nafkamina between dry cleaners and Rashi asked the question. Rashi says, and by the way, this Rashi, it's very confusing for me at least because there's Rashi on the Amud and there's the Rashi Ksav Yad, which seems to be the more accurate one, and maybe a lot of these Svarim, the art scroll, the Masifta seem to be going with that. So it becomes sort of confusing. I think that's the other day, Menachem Mendel screamed out, no, that's not the pshat, because he's looking in this Rashi where usually, okay, fine. But what is the nafkamina between dry cleaning and a piece of property, real estate? Because real estate, everybody knows so-and-so is building a house. Here it is. And look, he's building on Shabbos. Dry cleaning, nobody knows. Oh, it's so-and-so's suit. Nobody chaps what's going on. Listen to this. And here's the answer to the riddle. On Shabbos and Yontif, when there's no other city, is the answer to the riddle. Since on Shabbos, there's no way for you to get to the construction site because it's outside of the tchum, so no one is ever going to see it. So let him do whatever he wants to do. It's on his cheshbon. He's a contractor. He's not getting paid by the hour, by the day. He's getting paid by the job. He has to finish your house. So you don't care if he finishes it on a Sunday or a Monday or on a Shabbos. However, that's only in Shabbos and Yontif. You're allowed to drive so people could get there. Asur. So here you have one situation maybe in Shas that there's something that's awesome for you to do on Chalamayid. Again,
a little further out, and then you could do it. As long as it's not near you.
No. Yeah, people can get there. Chalamayid can get anywhere.
It's close to that place. Within its tchum.
No. Within the tchum is asur even on every day.
If it's close to you, then it's asur.
Okay, look weiter. We're talking about if it's within the tchum, it's 100% asur because everybody can get there. If it's outside the tchum, then it's mutter on Shabbos and Yontif. Outside of the tchum, and outside of the tchum, even a chol shemayit is also because you can get there with a vehicle. Marzutra, Marzutra, Bereder Rav Nachman. Not exactly sure. It's like building a mansion in Iowa. No, big deal. $100,000, you get 100,000 feet. He built outside of the city limits. He built a mansion. Maybe you want to make a new shchuna. Yeah. If anybody knows of a nice piece of land, I want to build an MDY community. I don't think it's available. I don't think there's such a thing in Israel. If you know, I'm available after davening. They were makbid on themselves. They made a chumrah since it was built by a non-Jew outside of the Tchum on Shabbos. We're not going to go in there. Imagine you build a mansion. It's not posh to build a mansion. It takes a long time, a lot of resources, a lot of time and effort. And when he found out that part of the build was done on Shabbos, I'm not going in there. That's it. Take the house. I don't care. Ask the Gemara, but what was the big deal? It was outside of the Tchum. Outside of the Tchum is motor adam chashav shani. What are the last words on Yud Aleph Amud Beis? Adam chashav shani. We have this idea over and over. When a person is a gadol, people look up to him. He has to act in a different way. People are going to start taking ideas from him. We see it later on, also different, even not with those words. But that concept, there was a gadol, I think it was Rav Huna, whoever it was at the end. who was it? He did something. Everybody imitated him. He picked fruit on. The next year, everybody thought you can't. You got to be super careful. What happened was he provided him with material during the weekday. He provided him with material. So now he's like a partner with him. Before, he was a contracted guy. He does everything on his own. Now, once he provides him with material, that's different. Provide material, now you're doing it with a partnership, and you cannot use his Shabbos work, even though it's outside of the Tchum. In our days, if a house is built within the Tchum by a non-Jew, you're supposed to be machmer, not use the house. In our days, it happens. Sometimes it happens. I remember people came knocking on the door, not to me, like, they're working on Shabbos, especially in America. You make it, so a lot of times you make a deal with it. Now, if you make a deal, a condition, you say, and that's what they do in America, they make a condition with the contractor, you're not allowed to work on Shabbos. They put up signs, and I know in Lincolnwood, no work on Shabbos, because we had issues there. And then they sneak in, and they work, then it shouldn't be a problem. Okay. In Eretz Yisrael, let's say, when a lot of the workers are Jewish, that's a whole different, that should be Asur B'Hana. It's a Maseches Shabbos, and it's major problems.
It's Arab workers.
For others, yeah.
It's Arab workers.
Arab workers that's what I'm saying. American and Israel is the same thing. Yeah. I was just saying in Eretz Yisrael, it's shchiach to have right, mostly. Rav Chama Sharlu Lav Vangere the Beireish Galusa, some sort of like waiters that work there on Yontif. To fix the tables, to do melacha. Now, it's a tzarech Yontif. And on Chalamayid, it's usher to take pay. This Chalamayid, I had a situation where I hired yeshiva bachrim, 18-year-olds, and they brought the brother along, 14-year-old, and they built my sukkah, the MDY sukkah that we used every day. And one of the guys told the 14-year-old, said, go upstairs, get me a piece of wood. Now, you have to understand, there's a piece of wood on the outside, and if you fall, it's like a 6-flight fall. And I watched them, they were holding onto this guy, 2 guys holding his legs, and he's sitting there, and then the kid goes up, snip, takes off the piece of wood that they worked for half an hour, takes it off to give them a piece of wood so they could use it as leverage for something. After that whole kitzer. Make a long story short, I paid them on Chalamayid to fix things up, to put the schacha, whatever. So they paskin, because it's work that was done on Chalamayid, they have to use it right then and there for Chalamayid stuff. It's not like, you can't earn a living, can't earn money on Chalamayid. It's like Yantif. So how could they earn money, these waiters? Omar, Kivin the Agar, look at Shakli. They're not taking money for this. It's Yantif. Sharshuye Huda Komisharshle, the less lamba, it's all within, it's tam, they're Revach Ba'alma says Rashi, they sudos some, they call Achle Ba'idai, they ate with them, so it's not like they were getting paid for it. Torah Abara. You can take a non-Jew and have him work. Let me just show you real quickly. This is an interesting chart here. It might make some sort of, it's not a complicated sugya at all, but I found this, the Meiri says, carve this out in your heart. These Yisaitis, at least these 3. Davar Aved, If it's something that's going to be a loss, you cannot specifically mean to do it on Chol Hamoed. Chol Hamoed is days off. You have days off from work, so it's very convenient to do a davar of it on those days. If it just so happened to fall out on Chol Hamoed, you're allowed to take care of it. But don't a month in advance say, "Oh, let's pick the fruit on Chol Hamoed because it's going to be davar of it." Somebody, Sutton, I forgot his name. I was just talking about it that my wife goes to the mall on Chol Hamoed, so he sent me this great picture. It's a sad picture. This is a sign in Eretz Yisrael. Davar ha'avet sale. They open up the store and they say, "Mivtzaim yuchadim l'shloshet hashvuot." For 3 weeks, this is how they get away with, Okay, anyway, so it's a davar ha'avet sale. That's only in Eretz Yisrael you see a sign like that. So, anyways, we have like this. You cannot make if it so happened to be it's motor. Oichel nefesh. Listen to this Rabbi say food, and this goes back to what Lauren Spiegelman was asking me yesterday, and a few people afterwards. Oichel nefesh, Rabbi say you can do anything you want. It could be a Maisa Uman. You could be mechaven that it should fall out on Chol Hamoed. You can do whatever you want. You can even cook on Yontif itself. So there's no tircha meruba. There's nothing. Everything goes with the oichel nefesh. It's food. You can do everything. I didn't have room to fit in all the stuff, but the list goes on. Uman, Maisa Uman, Kivim Malachta, all the stuff. Tzarech Hamoed, something you need for Yontif. Like fixing your car. I need to go on a Chol Hamoed. I need to fix the car. So if it didn't fall out, if it fell out by mistake on Chol Hamoed, then you're allowed to take care of it. Maisa Hedyot Mutter, then it's Maisa Hedyot you're allowed. If so, you're not a mechanic. You know how to just fix the battery, whatever, put the two things, charge up your car, whatever it is, then you're allowed to do it. Now, this is from the Ramban. This is the Meiri. The Ramban says that anything that has to do with your body, like we had women, cosmetics, that sort of thing, it's tzarech haguf, is like oichel nefesh, and memeli you can go to a uman. You go to a professional hair remover, whatever it is, on Chol Hamoed, because it's like oichel nefesh, and there's no uman, there's no head yet. These are the klalim. Now let's see the sugi a little bit. We're going to find some of these klalim here and there. Tanar Rabbanon. A guy, an anju, could accept a contract on Chol Hamoed to do something. I'm going to build you a house after Chol Hamoed. I'm not going to start today. I'm going to start out. What's the concern? You might start today? No, you probably won't. So here's an incredible chiddush, Rabbi, so we have to pay attention to this chiddush. This is the chiddush of Amira La'akum. This is Isser Amira La'akum on Chol Hamoed. If one thing comes out from this Masechta, we should try to treat Chol Hamoed a little differently. Chol Hamoed is a Yontif. It's Yontif like Pesach night, Seder. Just Chachamim gave us a teir to do certain things. It just comes up again and again and again. It's not a joke. It's not a chumrah. Oh, look at this weirdo. He doesn't write on Chol Hamoed. It's Yontif.
I asked so many times for a teir to write a Chol Hamoed. I could not get a heter from anybody.
To write with your hand, with a pen?
No, to write with a computer.
Even a computer?
I asked Rapesin, I asked him.
Wow.
So many people.
Rab Nachman Seltzer says he couldn't find...
I can't, I've seen Batal.
Even for Torah?
Even for Torah. They wouldn't give me
Wow, I have to look into it because I definitely type for Torah, for the shir, all of the charts. It's hard enough Pesach for me. Okay, let's go weiter. I hear? So anyways, but Amir Lakum, to tell a non-Jew to type for you is also awesome. You hear what's going on here? If typing is awesome, typing is awesome, you can't get a heter. You can't tell a non-Jew, hey, write the story down for me. Unbelievable chiddush, no? No, you're and if you can't do it yourself, you cannot tell a non-Jew to do it. You could get a quote, sign a contract with somebody for after Chol Hamoed, eventually yimdoid, but you can't measure, so the contractor can't come with his measuring tape, with his laser. Don't weigh. Don't do anything that's uvda d'chol. Chol Hamoed. We're not talking about Yontif, we're talking about Chol Hamoed, Rabbi Yisrael. You can't mate animals on Chol Hamoed. Why? It's a tircha. If you're a farmer, you have to lift this animal up and do this and that. It's tircha. And similarly, Eimar Bim, B'bchar, V'loi. So B'char is a very different halacha. A B'char says in the pasuk, Loi Savoid B'char Sherecha. There's an Isser to do any work with it, with a B'char. So that would also include mating it. If you have a carbon that's a puzzle and you redeem it, it has Kedusha. You got the money, the Kedusha leaves it, but you can't work it. You can't treat it with disrespect, work it, be marbiya, all that stuff. Just to be yeshivish, to be yotzei, there's a beautiful question here, and this is like the epitome of this question. The question is that we're talking about an Isser Gavra, not an Isser Chefza. We're talking about the Isser on the human being to do Melach and Chalamayid, and all of a sudden the Gemara sticks in the Isser of a Bechar, that the Isser is in the Chefza. It's not your Isser, it's the Isser, you cannot do work with this animal. It's two completely different Isurim. One is an animal, no problem, you can do whatever you want with it, but it happens to be, you are not allowed to do Melach on Shabbos. And then the other one is you have an animal that has Kedusha, the Kedusha, it's a Isser Chefza, not Isser Gavra. I just thought it was interesting, the wording was fitting beautifully here. Zog the Gemara, I don't have any answers. Says the Gemara, there's one animal called a chamoir, a donkey. If she demanded the male, there's a, and I actually saw in Rishonim, I think it was the Nemuki Yosef says, there's a fear that if you don't go with her demand, she will never have children. She'll never have offspring. Not this season. There's a lot of animals, those from the Safari, there's very specific weeks for animals. So there's a fear maybe for that season. That's what I thought. You're going to miss this season. No. Nemuki Yosef says forever. Other animals, you just put them in, let them do whatever they want to do. You could maybe yichud sort of thing, but you're not doing it physically. Medairin means to take a fence, make a temporary fence, put it on a piece of land. Now the animals do natural fertilization, and then you move the fence. You keep on moving it around to your field, and you have fertilization. There's also tircha. So Rashi over here on the side doesn't learn like this. We're going to go with Rashi Ksavyad. If the guy shows up by himself, he starts fertilizing, mutter. You're allowed to benefit from it. But don't help him out. And you cannot give the non-Jew a shomer to watch his sheep. Mordechai Sapaznik obviously spent a lot of time in this. He sent me this cartoon. He's the one that I printed. He bought me the machine, the beautiful printer that I print every single day. So Shkoich Mordechai Shidduch bekorov. So, yeah. If he works by the week, Schir Chodesh by the month, Schir Shana by the year, Schir Shavua by the 7-year cycle of Shemitah, Messiah Oisai, then of course, then he could do it on his own time. He's working here for 7 years. He can fertilize, he has all 7 years to fertilize his field, or whatever it is, all month. So Memela, the fact that he's doing it today is not on your account, it's on his dime, and Memela, you could help him out. You're helping him out, obviously, there's no tircha. Says Gemara, Rebbe Omer, b'Shabbos b'Toiva, b'Yantav b'Mezainas, b'Moed b'Schar. On Shabbos, if a non-Jew does something for me, all I give back is a favor. I owe you. And as we said, the Briskerov says that's the most expensive thing. The cheapest way in this world is to pay for something. A favor is the worst. It always costs you more, trust me. B'Yantav b'Mezainas. On Yantav, you can go one step further, actually pay the non-Jew with food. Give him a nice meal. You're not paying him cash. B'Moed, but on Chalamayid, you go even a step further and give him money. Amar Rav Yosef, Hilchasa, Kirebi. That's the halacha. The official Mishnah. This is easy Mishnah because we had it yesterday. Same exact thing that we learned yesterday about olives applies to wine. Here's the bar. Here's wine in a big vat. And when it turns into wine, these are the grapes in the vat. As they ferment and it becomes liquid, it goes into the bar. Right over here, the bar. And he became an Avel. I forgot to bring the sheet of the 7 Avelim: father, mother, brother, sister, wife, sister, only not married. Okay. Workers told him he's going to show up. They're going to show up and help him, and they didn't show up. He pours out the wine from the bar into the bottles. He bottles it. He finishes it. He seals them. Everything normally, no shinoi. That we had yesterday. Rabbi Yossi holds you don't need a shinoi. You don't want it to spoil. Do not seal it normally. Limudim, a very interesting lashon. It means pieces of wood. You just cover it so that it doesn't become vinegar. Utzricha. So why do I need a mishnah about olives? Why do I need a mishnah about grapes? If I only talk about olives, there's a lot of loss. It depends also, we once learned, it depends on the city. Some cities, oil is much more expensive. Today, maybe wine is more expensive. Depends. Since there's a greater loss with oil, so Mela, I was matter, Rabbi Yossi is matter to do whatever you want to save it. Avachamra. The Loy Novish say that everybody in those days, it was like water. They didn't even have water. Water wasn't healthy to drink. They would all drink wine. I got that from Rabbi Schoenberg 4 years ago. It was a problem, right? There's bacteria, also different stuff in the water, unless you boil it. So people used to just dilute it with water and drink a lot of wine. And if we only said the Mishnah about wine, Yehuda, only in wine Rabbi Yehuda said you have to be makbid because it's cheap. Maybe by oil, you'll admit you're allowed to go out of your way and do more because it's a great loss. Very interesting because also I said the Rishonim, and it's so complicated in Chalamayid, the Devora of it versus the Tircha. It's like a scale. It's like tremendous amount of loss, tremendous amount of work. A little bit of work, not so much loss. Like one is mutter, one is also. I'll give you an example. It's also to draw water to water your little patch of whatever you have growing there. That we learned. But you're permitted to reap your entire field by hand. Go like this all day long in the sun because it's tremendous loss. If you don't, all your wheat is going to go, all your barley is going to go bye-bye. So tremendous amount of work for a tremendous amount of loss. A little bit of work you cannot do because it's a very small amount of loss. And then there's the scale that we have no idea where and how. We have to look inside Allah and figure it out. Huh? I have no idea what you're talking about because that was a long time ago. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, whatever. And this is a sugi we had yesterday. Who's the Tana that says that you have to do it differently when you want to save your stuff? The like your Rabbi Yossi. It's not Rabbi Yossi. Or Rabbi Yosef. Halachic Rabbi Yossi. Says Rabbi Yosef. The halach is like Rabbi Yossi, the Tana. Who's Rabbi Yosef? Abayi's Rebbe. Yeah, the blind one. Forgot his learning later on. Could I seal a barrel of beer? We never spoke about beer. We spoke about sealing wine in the Mishnah. Could I do it on Chalamayid? Sinai, Omar Halachic Rabbi Yossi. Sinai. That was the last staff in Brachas. We have Rav Yosef, who's a Sinai. He knows all Torah Kula, like Sinai came down. And you have Rabbah, who was Oiker Harem, who's the bigger learner, the Lamdan. And they said, Sinai is Adif. Somebody that knows more should be the Rosh Yeshiva. He refused to be the Rosh Yeshiva because he found out from the stargazers he's going to be Rosh Yeshiva only for 2 years. That means he's going to go in 2 years. So he'd rather his friend Rabbah be the Rosh Yeshiva. And in fact, he lived another 22 years because Rabbah was 22 years Rosh Yeshiva. He lived he was Rosh Yeshiva 2.5 years, then he was Nifter. But he's Sinai. Says the Gemara. So, he already said, halacha is, Rabbi Yossi, that you're allowed to seal without a shinur. So he asks him, he said, by why? So he explains to him, no. Why could you save wine? Great loss. Well, beer is not cheap. I looked it up. Probably 28 times in Shas, maybe even more. Because Abaya was a Yasim. So this woman brought him up. So he always spoke about this woman. It wasn't his real mother. She always gave him advice, which we said that is al pi Kabbalah. A lot of it is from the Sfarim that were Nignaz, the whole thing. Fine. Barshis, Savi, V'shayeh. Here, let me show you real quickly. Pretend that this is 7-Up. Okay? And this was open for 4 days. How much is this worth, Rabbi? So tell me, seriously, how much is this worth? Warm.
It's worth minus.
This can is closed and sealed. 7-Up. Cold. Which one is worth more? Obviously, this can, even though it has less. So what do you see? That being open and not sealed is a tremendous loss. This is worthless. The Olam says it's minus. Even if it's cold, sometimes it's mamish, just very, very thirsty, and it's cold, flat. Sometimes you do it. Sometimes it has a little bit. It's worth 3-4 cents. This is worth $6 in Great America, whatever it is. Okay. Says the Gemara. If you have 6 saw worth of beer, whatever that's sealed, it's worth at least 25% more, says his mother. Why? We need a nice here. Kusi is that whole group of people that came to Israel. They want to be like Jews. Machlokes all over Shas. Were they forced to be Jews? Gary, MS, Gary, Rice. Did they send the lions out at them? The bottom line is that they don't care about Chachamim. They don't admit that there's something called Talmud Bavli. They made up their own halachas. But whatever they took upon themselves, called mitzvah shechzigu bakusim, medaktikim harbi yosim miYisrael. They're more makbid than a Jew. So let's say they're makbid chveis on I don't know what, on Shabbos candles. Could you make a raya from there on Havdalah candles? There's no connection. Whatever mitzvah they take, that's it. There's zero limud from one mitzvah to another mitzvah by kusi. And in Mela, there's zero limud from one halacha and hilchas chalamayid to another halacha and chalamayid. That's the mashal. For instance, they're like women who can't have children. All they have is themselves. So it's that halacha, and you can't learn anything from it. If I ask you, the halacha is I'm allowed to take shmir or anti-leaking agent into my small little cup, jug. This one I'm allowed to put tar in the inside. Why? So that I shouldn't lose this water that's in here. So could I do it for a $5,000 barrel of wine? You're going to say probably yes. No, you're wrong. And if I tell you could do it for the large barrel, $5,000, could I do it for the small one? Why not? It's much less work. No, it's only because it's $5,000. That's the point. We'd never know. You're allowed to smear the tar in the small jug, but not in a large vat, in a large barrel. The opposite. You can do it for a big barrel because it's a big hefsed and not the small one. So again, it's a lot of work versus a lot of hefsed. Which one is it? One cares about the monetary laws, and the other one cares about what you're doing on Yontif, how much exertion are you putting out there. The halacha is that the halachas of Chalamayid are like Shabbos, Daf Yud Beis, Amud Beis. Don't look at this long daf. Yeshmem Potter Aval Asur, Yeshmem Mutar L'Chatchila. I am not saying the sponsor today. So there's you could put tar in the chavis. Will be Michael me. We'll do another day, a different time. You'll put the tar in the chavis, and that's Potter, but it's also you don't get a einish for it. Yeshmem Mutar L'Chatchila, and some things you're allowed to do. Mamish L'Chatchila, you're allowed to put tar in a small one. Rav Huna, they reaped this whole field on Chalamayid. Why? Hefsed. Says the Gemara. Eisvei Rabba Baravuna L'Ravuna L'Chayr's son asked him a question. Why can't you reap the field? I'm allowed to. I'm sorry. Why did you reap the field? It says the only time you're allowed to grind flour on Chalamayid is for Chalamayid. The Shloitz are Chalamayid also. Davsha Avud b'Moed, something that's going to be a big monetary loss. You're allowed to do it on Chalamayid. Davsha ain't Avud b'Moed also, but if it's not a monetary loss, it's also. That's all good for anything that's detached from the ground. Like in our case of Rav Huna, that they reaped all the wheat. Even if everything gets lost, it's also because it's attached to the ground and everybody knows about it. It's like it's in public. If he has nothing to eat, I'm going to skip the joke now. You do all these malachas. Ayin in Shabbos. We're not going to go into them now. Just don't use cows. So, how could they reap your field on Chalamayid when it's attached to the ground? Who said this? Rabbi Yosi. He's a das yachid, and I don't hold like him. The Sanya Klal, we don't hold like him. Here, in the name of Rabbi Yosi. If it's detached and it's a small loss, you're allowed to do it on Chalamayid. But if it's attached to the ground, it's also to do Melacha on Chalamayid. As the Gemara of Rabbi Yosi, Yadishnam Paras, according to Rabbi Yosi, you don't have to do any shinu, you don't have to do anything different. Why can't you do cows? You can't plow with the cow because that's what you do during the weekday. Says Gemara, no, wrong. That's not why you can't use a cow. That's the like Rabbi Yosi. That's part of the question. Rabbi Yosi is the one that holds that you don't have to do a shinu, so you could use a cow. Here's the pshat. Nobody uses cows today. They use oxen. I don't know what they use. They use tractors. It's not because of a shinu. What is the reason? The reason is because it's way too much of a commotion on Chalamayit. People walk by the field, they see noise and slapping and going and grinding and plowing. That's awesome. So we're going to have three halachas that are the same exact thing. You're allowed to grind on Chalamayit, flour, say flour. Why? Because that's a staple food, it's very necessary, and that's the chiddush. The chiddush is, even though it's a very important staple, you don't do it on Chalamayit if you don't need it for Chalamayit. But if you did, you needed a pound and you did 2 pounds by mistake and you have one left over, there's no isser not to use it. Same halacha again. You're allowed to chop wood on Chalamayid for the use of Chalamayid, but not if you want to save wood for after, also. Because of a if you have leftover, third halacha. You're allowed to brew beer for Yantiv. If you have extra, it's mutter, but you're not allowed to pretend that you want to drink the new stuff and then you're only doing new stuff so that you can drink the old stuff. The chiddush in the eitzim over here is that even though it's mechubal karka, and even though it's not so necessary, okay. You're allowed to brew beer on Chalamayid for Chalamayid. Even if it's a lot of work, like Sairim, even if he has old. So now it says over here in the Brisa, Marim v'shoisim min achodosh. If he has old beer, he's permitted to make new beer with a harama, with trickery. So you see, trickery is okay. Says the Gemara, Tanoi, the Sanya, Marim ukach, or Marimim. So we have machlokes. Could you do trickery? Could I add to what I already have? I have plenty of beer to last me for Yantiv, but I'm going to trick myself and I'm going to say, I like the new stuff. And then when it comes out of the brewery, I'm going to say, no, I like the old stuff, and now I have a lot of beer. But all the Rishonim say you have to drink a little bit from it. Okay. According to that mandama, that's okay. Rav Chazal, we have the same story that we have with Rav Huna. They reaped his whole field on Chalamayid. Shama Shmuel Ikpad. Shmuel was very upset. Lema Shmuel Kichidas really. Why was he upset? Only Rabbi Yosi says it's also. Loi Chazal Dechita Hava. It was a field of wheat. The Lehava Pasid. What field goes bad if you don't do it right away that day on Chalamayid? Barley, not wheat. Rav, my time Avadachi. So if so, why did Rav do it? Can you imagine Rav, the Gadol Adar? Rav was a Tana Upaling. He was the greatest Amoyer that lived. He didn't have food. But he had cash. He could have bought food. And that's the problem, says the Gemara. Ushmuel, and so if he had nothing to eat, so why is Shmuel upset at him? They didn't tell him the story. They didn't say that he ran out of food. Oh, he should have. But he felt, Inami, Adam Chashav Shani, maybe the combination. They asked the question. He should have, but they say not, because he's Adam Chashav, and since he has this money, he should have bought with his money, and when you could buy, you don't have let's go weiter because we're so far behind. Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya is the grandson of Rebbe. Some say he was the great grandson. I don't understand why they say that, because we'll see from here that it seems like he's only the grandson. He had a signet. It's a ring that has wood in it, and it's designed specifically to sign your name. So that's a malacha, klisha malachtalis, or something you do in the weekday that you sign. And he drank water that was heated by a non-Jew, period. What is that called? Bishalakum on a Tuesday afternoon. Only hot water. Shomer Rabami Ikpad. That's why I thought that Rabami was the Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. It seems like he could have seen, even though he's the okay. Lamashana. Shomer Rabami Ikpad. Or Rabbi Yosef, my Tami Ikpad. What was the big deal? If he was a klisha malachis, he was holding this ring. Hotanya Sherim and his at the boys. Any kind of jewelry that people wear It's also to wear on Shabbos because he might take it off, he might carry it in the alarms for Surabim, but it's still a Klisha Malach Isser, Klisha Malach Isser. You're allowed to move L'tzarech Gufay Mekayimai. There's different reasons why you can move a Klisha Malach Isser. So over here also. And it's because the non-Jew heated up the water. I'm a Shmuel by Yitzchak, I'm a Rab. If I could eat it as is, I could drink water when it's cold. I don't need to be hot. This is the Gemara again. Adam Chashav Shani. We're talking about a Chashav person. People are going to start making kulas based on what he did. They're not going to completely understand. They can say, oh, he did it like this. You could do it in other ways as well. Stay away from it. Have a wonderful day.